And you've just heard No Rain, the latest single from Rhona Macfarlane. And I'm delighted to be joined by Rhona now. Hello, Rhona.
Hello, nice to be here.
I'm glad you could make it. First of all, what can you tell us about No Rain?
Yeah, so No Rain, I actually wrote a few years ago, but it took me a while to kind of feel like I was capturing the mood of the song. So I only recorded it last year. So the song is kind of about the power and depth of family relationships. And it's inspired by a phrase from someone close to me who just lost someone, a life partner. And I sent them a message to ask, that I was thinking of them. And their response was, well, at least there's no rain outside. And I felt that was quite shocking at first, like to say something like that. But when I kind of thought about it, it was actually a very kind of stoic and hopeful phrase, and that you can, there's always something to be grateful for. So that's kind of what inspired that song.
Yeah, so trying to find positivity even in the kind of worst situations.
Yeah, I think it's such a Scottish thing to say as well. So it kind of like made you laugh, but you're like, I can't laugh in this situation because it's so sad. But actually, it's quite nice, I think. Yeah,
I think you're right. I think that kind of linked to the weather often in Scottish culture in general is like that. Oh well, it'll be raining tomorrow if you're not careful.
I know.
So it's taken from the EP Closing the Window, which will be out on the 12th of November. What should we expect from it? Are there kind of themes involved, or?
Yeah, so I think because it was written like over the pandemic, I think, which obviously was a reflective time, and I just left uni, and it's kind of that transition from when you're a student and then you're kind of, you're becoming an adult, and it's that sort of shock. So I think some of those emotions were going through my head, and things with family, like realizing that people are passing, and things as well about childhood things coming to an end. So I think some of those themes come in. The only song I'd say that's slightly different is Better When You're Around, which will be the first one, which is a bit more about kind of forming new relationships and journeys. So whereas the other songs are more about reflecting on the past, but learning from it and kind of moving forward.
I think, it sounds like a period of your life that you would reflect anyway, but I do think there's something about the situation of people being locked down that really lent to that kind of reflection on times past and times present as well.
Yeah, and I think as well, because we couldn't see family very often, when you saw your family, you were almost like hyper aware of things. Well, I was anyway, so I was like, this is weird. Like, I've been thinking about going home for so long, and then you go home and you suddenly appreciate it more than you've ever appreciated it. So I think I was very aware of the fact that I was coming home, and then I was leaving home, and when would I be able to see everyone again? So yeah, definitely inspired those songs.
And the production across the EP it's absolutely gorgeous. How did you get the sound you wanted? Who did you work with, and how did you approach kind of getting that sound?
Yeah, so it's strange because I didn't really set out to be like, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write an EP. I kind of just was like, it'd be nice to write some songs. So I reached out to Matt Ingram, who he works in London at Archon Studios, because I admire a lot of people that he's worked with. And I mean, yeah, I was nervous to reach out to him first because obviously it was kind of remote. We were working remotely because of COVID, but he was really lovely, and I think he kind of just managed to find like almost my personality and bring it out in a way. So he said that I should, try and record the songs live, which for me was, I'd never done that before. I'd always kind of, done the vocals in a few takes, cleaned things up, where it's doing it live, you kind of don't have anywhere to hide. So he kind of was reassuring and saying, the things that you're self-conscious about, people might like, because it shows a vulnerability. So I think that was the main kind of starting point, getting the performance of the live vocal and instrumental. And then he added drums to a lot of the tracks, because that's his kind of main thing. And I think some Wurlitzer, I think it's called.
Right, yes.
It's like, yeah, it's all new to me. And then the strings I arranged myself, because I came out of the RCS and classical violin was my main instrument. So I like arranging and yes, I did that in my room, kind of formed those in my room, and then reached out to some very talented musicians to play on the EP. So that's kind of how it formed. But yeah, it's weird. Sometimes you don't expect how it will come out.
Right.
You kind of just kind of happens. It's weird. Yeah.
Well, that's I was wondering, as a non-musician, you think, do you have this idea in your head about how it's going to work out, or is it a case of, well, it sometimes depends who can play, if they say yes, you know, what their expertise is in? Is it much more kind of dependent on other people's situations?
Yeah, I think it helped having I've never worked with a producer before, so having the producer to kind of have an overall vision rather than be like, I want it to be very like specific ideas, more rather go for a mood overall. So having words in your head, like we had one song where we were just thinking the word moody. So I was like, keep it moody. And sometimes just not overthinking it too much, and it can help. And then I kind of made a playlist up of people that inspire me musically. So kind of keeping a playlist for each song of songs that kind of helped inspire it kind of helps as well, because it keeps you like on track. So I don't, suddenly start sounding like Metallica or something. Not that I would sound like Metallica, but
that's the director's cut or whatever. But it's interesting you should say that, because we're going to hear the title track of the EP, Closing the Window, once we finish talking. And I'm a massive Blue Nile fan, as people will know who listen to this thing. And it does have shades of that for me on it. Am I kind of along?
Yeah, I was very inspired by Blue Nile. I mean, I was like, I hope it's not too obvious. But obviously they was quite produced slightly different. I tried to keep it kind of more, I think not so 80s, but I was listening to all their albums basically over lockdown on repeat, and I just love Paul Buchanan's voice and the sort of atmosphere he creates. So that was like a big inspiration. But that track is quite different, I feel, from the rest of them.
Yeah. It's one of the best things I've heard all year. I absolutely love it for that reason and others. It's, your voice works beautifully with the way that it's produced, as it does throughout the EP, I have to say.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, going aside from that, you'd said that you'd reached the final 10 for the Liverpool International Song for Kindness contest, which sounds like a wonderful competition, I have to say. What can you tell us about that? What stage is it at?
Yeah, so on Saturday is the live final, so 10 contestants are going to be playing that have been, I think, cut down from 1,500 applicants. And I think, I can't remember how many countries. I think I wrote it down somewhere. 28 countries.
Right.
So there's a wide spread of people. And that's going to be at Liverpool at the Cavern Club on Saturday. And it's going to be live streamed. I think if you go on to Tough Music, you can probably see a link and watch the live stream. And I think basically at the end there will be, the winner will be decided, and they get a chance to record their song. Yeah, which is cool. Yeah.
Is it in the evening? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I think
the only reason I'm asking that is because by the time this goes out at the radio show, if it's in the evening, I'll be able to point people in the direction. Yeah. If it's in the afternoon, on the radio.
I think it might be late afternoon. All so right. I can double check and let you know.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
No problem at all. So what about playing live and gigging? Are you back out there? Are you embracing it?
Yeah, I feel like I was quite slow with the whole getting back to things, because I kind of wasn't keeping up with the news, and then all of a sudden saw that festivals were happening and everyone's doing gigs. I was like, I better like get my finger out and start, getting some gigs. But I think it's just been a bit of a shock to the system, going from, not doing anything to suddenly having gigs. But I'm supporting Chloe Foy this Wednesday at Hug and Pint, and then obviously the Cavern Club on Saturday. And then I think, I'm going to try and get some more gigs going. Just being a bit slow with getting back into things, I think. But yeah, I'm looking forward to performing live again.
I think there is that, from an audience point of view, that I've been to a few gigs now, but not rushed to just like fill my nights up doing them, because there is still a kind of you know, gently moving back into a world that appears more normal than it was for the last 18 months. And I imagine musicians, it's much the same.
Yeah, I think, yeah, different people, I think some people were just desperate, like, you know, want to get back into it. But I think for me, it was a bit more of a slow transition into things, just to, especially because I was out of music for a little while studying. So I feel like I just need to ease myself back into it, and yeah, hopefully have some more gigs coming up soon.
Well, the EP is a great way to reintroduce yourself to everyone out there, without a doubt. Rhona, thanks so much for taking time to have a chat with me. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. It's been really nice to chat.
And this is Rhona Macfarlane and Closing the Window.